Hello, friends, and welcome to the Capitalize Your Best podcast. My name is Gordon Duncan. I'm the owner of Capitalize Marketing and Consulting, where we help you capitalize on what you do best to grow your revenue. And this podcast is part of the Capitalize Your Best podcast network of shows. On Mondays, we have This Is Going to Hurt, which focuses on building a better you. Tuesday, we have Coach Training Partners, which is about growing your coaching business. Today is the Capitalize Your Best podcast, which is about growing your business and marketing. We don't have a show on Thursday. And on Fridays, we have the You're Entitled to Your Opinion podcast, which is a fun genre-based review show. But guys, you've got me here. I'm not taking the extra steps for the lighting. You've got me very chill because today we had the Decade in a Day workshop. This is the first time I've ever held this. And so I want to talk about really the benefits of long-term planning. And I was sitting in my office, and this is what I work in. In the evenings, I typically have a movie on the background. You can see the reflection in my glasses here, and then I have a small desk lamp. I like working in the dark. I don't like a big lighted room. And I was reflecting on the day, and typically I'm going to turn the camera, face that direction, get the lights. I'm not doing any of that. So if you're watching the show, this is what we have because it's a raw unfiltered review of the day. Guys, we don't do long-term planning because we don't think it makes a difference. But when you take control of each aspect of your life and you take control of growing it the way you want it to be, and you have a defined direction and you put together steps towards that, you come in control of your life. And quite often, we don't make long-term plans because we know we don't have the self-discipline and the habits and the rituals to actually accomplish those things. Today was about sitting down with some high performers and putting together some plans. So we began, and I opened with a story about when I and my family put together a long-term plan back in 2019, 6 years ago, and we are working out the long-term plan from then. No, it does not look exactly like we thought it was going to be, but we are still on a path of outworking a plan that's 6 years old. That's long-term planning in this day and age. And I talked about retiring from ministry and starting to capitalize and the obstacles we faced. And that rolled into five things that are going to make sure your long-term planning doesn't work. And we talked about the lack of ability to adjust. We talked about lack of metrics and measurables along the way. We talked about overestimating what you could accomplish in the short term. And I had another slide after that, but that first hour went so quickly. Everybody had such great feedback. Well, at 10 o'clock, we rolled into an hour-long session with Mary Tanos from Patriots Tax Service. She's co-founder and chief business officer. And she did a great session on the benefits of long-term planning. She shared what's necessary for long-term planning to be successful. She shared stories of her life where she had succeeded in long-term planning in areas where she hadn't. And that session was very Q&A, a lot of interaction, and just a really rich interaction. Guys, I have a videotape of that session. If you want it, reach out to me. We've got a package for the post-Decade in a Day seminar. And I'll tell you all about that if you reach out to me. But Mary was phenomenal. She talked about her desire to grow Patriots Tax across the country and internationally. They now have their second franchise. She talked about the obstacles that they faced here in Fredericksburg and now in Katy, Texas. Well, she talked about their struggle when she and Carlo were just eating Wawa meals in their car on a Friday night, and that was a date. It was really practical. I mean, we were sitting in front of a very successful woman, consulting with the government of Dubai, Disney, and others, an international sales trainer. And she's sharing with us practical stories of how she succeeded and didn't succeed, excuse me. And then we had that Q&A, right? So that ended right at 11. So 11, we jumped into the second half of my presentation on the 5 things that make long-term planning succeed. And we talked about quantifiable goals. We talked about a regular series of checkups for success. That was one of my favorite sessions. And it roll all of a sudden we're rolling over to noon. I'm like, we got to order lunch. And then In the 12 to 1, we did a long-term planning session where it was like, what do you want your life to look like in 10 years? What are non-negotiable values? Like hard work, non-negotiable valuable of daily learning. We talked about habits and skills that are necessary. Like, what do you have to gain habit and skills wise if you want these long-term plans to succeed? And we ended with, what could you do in 90 days that would make a massive impact to get you closer to that 10-year goal? Because you can make a huge impact in 90 days to get you set on the path to then implementing a long-term plan. And we heard from maybe two of the people in the crowd during that time. Dom Lepore, the CEO of RPI Group, came at that point in time. Dom has started 3 defense contracting companies. He's a master strategist, a member of the Order of Magellan, which means you've circumnavigated the Earth twice. And he led us through a mind mapping session. He uses a software called mind mapping that helps him make long-term plans and gives accountability structure. So he walked through his old company that he founded and sold, and he looked at, like, this is how we manage our day. Essentially, as a CEO, that's what gives him the ground to work on and accountability. And that was amazing. There were a couple, excuse me, I'm very tired. There were a couple of people who really resonated with mind mapping, but whether you resonate with mind mapping or not, it was really that you've got to create this structure and this visible system for what it looks like for you to succeed long term. And Dom was very open about how his team handles it with long term planning, and those who like this type of structure and those who don't. Um, Really helpful. And then all of a sudden we're at 2 o'clock, and we're like, it's 2 o'clock already. Then we spent the next hour and 15 going back through the earlier exercise. Like, what do you want your life to look like in 10 years? What are the non-negotiable values? What can you do in 90 days? What habits and skills do you need? What are the relationships you need? That was super practical. Um, at the end, we got to 3 o'clock and we had a social, but really the social then is just an opportunity for the conversation to continue. And we continued it on. And a couple of things came away from it. I mean, folks wanted a part two. Folks wanted a part two, like practical strategy session. And we'll probably do that with a couple of people, maybe even some one-on-ones. We talked about getting the recordings and doing a one-on-one individually with people who wanted to do that. And we talked about doing a decade in a day again in January for a brand new group of people. And we talked about, like, you become a different person if you map out the 10-year strategy and you keep it. And that really, in that group is, I'm surrounded by high performers, people who really want to accomplish great things. It's pretty amazing. Things that I learned from it is, again, I went through every exercise that I did for them. I quantified 10 years from now, quantified the habits and disciplines going to get there. I shared my failures in the last year, what I've learned from those failures, what will be non-negotiable for me going forward. I learned that they wanted a second session that was like even more practical. So I talked about that. Then we outlined what our Capitalize Your Best Life third Tuesday workshops are going to be. I hold a third Tuesday workshop called Capitalize Your Best Life. And that's going to go through the 10 pillars of capital that are the Capitalize Your Best Life Daily Reader. I mean, it was so many good things. I didn't leave there until well after 5 because there was just one conversation that continued on. And folks started getting there at 8:15. So essentially from 8:15 to around 5:15, the investment, the time commitment. And we'll do this again. If you're interested, reach out to me. I'd be glad to put together a decade in the day for you and some other people. But really, the takeaway was, this is what it looks like to become a high earner, a high performer. I mean, when we talk to Mary or talk to Dom, they're both living out long-term strategy plans, and they have systems for it. And they're different kind of people because of that. And we talked about the mindset necessary. Like, you have to change your mindset to become that kind of person. All in all, guys, just a tremendous day. Thank you for everyone who's interested. We're going to do this again in 2026. We'll do another decade in a day. We will do the third Tuesday workshops. Right now, they're still from 2 to 4, but we might make them into the evening. We'll see how that goes. But guys, thank you for tuning in. You guys are faithful to the growing of this podcast. Our Spotify Wrapped was massive growth of numbers, so thank you. And guys, you can hear me. I'm tired. It's been a good day, but I owed you an episode on Wednesday. I'm going to give it to you. So I look forward to talking to you guys soon. Thank you for your likes, subscribes. Keep doing that. Share this episode. And the next episode, Friday, drops of You're Entitled to Your Opinion. So I look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks so much, friends. Bye-bye.